What's up everyone, Vu of Envu Films back with another video, and today I'm going to compare the DJI Pocket 3 versus the Sony ZV-E1. And a lot of you are wondering, why am I comparing like a $600-ish setup to this $4,000-ish setup? And the fact of the matter is, there's nothing else that Sony offers that really competes against the DJI Pocket 3. You're talking about any of the 1-inch Sony ZV cameras or RX cameras. I could mention a lot of things, but all I have to say is 4K 24 limited, no 10-bit, no 4K 60. Bad stabilization, bad battery life. List goes on, but the only quote-unquote vlogging-centric camera from Sony that is worth anything, in my opinion, if you're going to compare it against a DJI Pocket 3, it's the Sony ZV-E1. So right now I have the Sony ZV-E1 on a Sony 16-35 f2.8 G Master Mark II, set at 20mm to match the focal length of the DJI Pocket 3 at 20mm f2. It's roughly f5.6 equivalent in terms of like depth of field, so I probably should set the Sony ZV-1 to that, but no, I just wanted to highlight the fact that you do have an advantage using the full frame. So theoretically I could definitely make it a cheaper setup. I could buy a cheaper just 20mm prime lens, like a Tamron 20mm f2.8 for like $250, so it makes the Sony ZV-1 setup be around $2,500-ish versus the $600-ish of the DJI Pocket 3. But let's just make the assumption that we all know what is possible in terms of like how much you spend. You're going to spend at least $2,500 on the Sony ZV-1 setup to be able to match the focal length and all that stuff with the DJI Pocket 3. The idea of vlogging cameras is for it to help you film yourself. Even if I did tracking on the Sony ZV-1, what it does is it will zoom in a little bit on the sensor and it'll track me around this frame and this frame only here. But the DJI Pocket 3 will track me all the way over here. And of course, I have the DJI mic right here, the DJI Mic 2, that comes with the DJI Pocket 3, and it is recording me all the way up here while I do my work. Whereas with the ZV-1, I would have to readjust the tripod and have it angled at me. So I'm gonna just go about my business sweeping, and hopefully at this angle, the Pocket 3 lens is not being blocked by the Sony G Master lens. But yeah, I know that my camera is doing the job of having me in focus and following me wherever I go to make sure that I have a well-composed image at all times. So in terms of ease of use, ease of getting the shot, the DJI Pocket 3 has the advantage here. So if you were a beginner shooter, this would be perfect for you. The DJI Pocket 3, not only obviously is a cheaper alternative, obviously it's a cheaper choice, but also it's easy to use. It does a lot of things for you. I'm shooting in a D-Log because I like to grade my footage. It has 10-bit. Of course, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm a professional videographer, so I'm gonna take advantage of everything the camera has to offer. With that said, a person like me would usually not vlog in this type of manner where I'm like sweeping my garage floor while recording myself. But there's some people who will. There's some YouTube channels that do these kinds of things. My other YouTube channel, where I go fishing, I will be using the tracking a lot. As I'm fishing along shore, it will follow me along the shore, which makes my life a lot easier. And seeing that the DJI Osmo Pocket 3 footage is obviously, it's not going to be as good as a Sony ZV-1. I mean, there's a full frame sensor, the same sensor was used in FX3. The FX3 was used to film the crater. We know what's up with the Sony ZV-1 image quality, but it's close, especially in decent lighting. It's the DJI Pocket 3 is pretty close, and hopefully this shot here proves that. those of you who are going to walk around trying to get stable footage, let's see which one is better. I could already tell you that the DJI Action 4 is going to be better, but let's see what you'll be working with if you wanted to just get a Sony ZV-1. So, quick walking test with the Sony ZV-1 in the standard stabilization versus the DJI Pocket 3. Obviously, the DJI Pocket 3 is going to be a lot more stable, but is the ZV-1 something that you would use? Now we're going into active stab, and is active stab any better? It should be, but again, it does crop in a little bit, 1.1 times, and it's probably still not as good as the DJI Pocket 3. And of course, now I'm in dynamic active mode, which crops in 1.3 times, and of course, it's definitely no longer nearly as wide, but it should be more stable. But again, it's cropping into the sensor, so is image quality affected, or is there too much over sharpening? Who knows? You can use zoom lenses to a disadvantage and get 16 millimeters out of it, but again, 1.3 times of 16 millimeters, maybe it's closer to 20 millimeters now. See how that looks like. Again, obviously that was just like a test, but the Sony ZV-1 is not going to be nearly as stable as the DJI Pocket 3 in all three of its stabilization modes, but in my opinion, the Sony ZV-1 is completely usable for that walking type of vlog. I don't really do it that much, but people who do, I don't have an issue with like a slight bit of shake when, you know, you're doing that kind of content. That said, the reason why I still have to monitor my footage using this DJI Mimo app is because the DJI Pocket 3 is currently being angled in a way where I can't see its screen. The good thing is it has a really good cell phone connection, which I can't say the same thing about Sony's cell phone connection, and like the image is really nice, and most likely it is because of DJI's technology that they use with their drones, that you could connect your drone to your cell phone from like really far away. So like a distance like this is no issue for the DJI Pocket 3. So the only real advantage the Sony ZV-1 has over the DJI Pocket 3 is the ultimate image quality, the ability to change lenses in terms of getting telephoto, wide angle, the whole 9 yards, the 12,800 ISO low light performance, and overall just low light performance in general. And obviously you could definitely use the Sony ZV-1 for more like high-end video shoots, more high-end professional use, where the DJI Pocket 3, you're probably not going to be able to. DJI Pocket 3, you could still use it for professional shoots, but you're obviously limited to the smaller sensor, the inability to use telephoto type of shots, so it's only really used for wide angle at this point, unless there's some type of attachment that's released to give it some telephoto look, but it's still going to be limited with the sensor and the way the image looks and everything once you start putting different lens attachments to the front of the camera. Another thing is audio. So the DJI Pocket 3 has automatic connection to the DJI Mic 2, where the Sony ZV-1, you're gonna have to buy some other mic system, and obviously the on-camera mic is good for the Sony ZV-1, but it's not going to be nearly as good as this mic, a lav mic type of thing attached right next to you, especially if you're going to be walking off, you know. But overall, this is probably a good, you know, comparison between the two shots. I mean, I'm using the Sony ZV-1 with a $2,200 G Master lens versus the $600-ish, or actually just, you know, it's 500 something bucks for the DJI Pocket 3 by itself. The combo is like 650 bucks or whatever it is. So like the price difference, is it worth it to you? If you are someone who's just looking to do like walk around vlogs, or you just started this journey into like creating stuff, or you're just a parent trying to video your kids or whatever walking around, the DJI Pocket 3 is the only thing you need. I mean, you know, if you're not too concerned about like, you know, capturing sports where you have to zoom in really far or something like that of your kids, the DJI Pocket 3 is like all you need to just capture your kids running around at the playground, at a birthday party or something like that. Like, and it does everything for you. It tracks your kids and all that stuff. Whereas the Sony ZV-1, this is more for, I guess, people have been doing vlogging for a long time, doing content creation for a long time, and they really want to get like the best possible image quality. They're in studio and they're just sitting down and they just want like the best image they could possibly get. The Sony ZV-1 with would be like the best choice. So in my opinion, the most ideal choice is to have both of them. You have one camera to do like more direct talking shots like this, and then at the same time, if you, let's say you're doing a talking head like this and you're just talking, you want like a really nice shot, you have a good shot with the Sony ZV-1 like this, and then you could cut over to your DJI Pocket 3 just in case you want to walk over here to show, you know, your view or whatever else you're trying to show over here, and then you're coming back this way, and then bam. If you're doing outdoorsy stuff, going on hikes, you take the DJI Pocket 3. If you're, you know, going out fishing, you want to capture yourself fishing, DJI Pocket 3. Even though I would probably still use my Sony ZV-1 for like me going fishing just because I want like this extra image quality, I'm also like a professional who's like a really real stickler to like types of shots I'm getting, especially I'm trying to tell a story, whatever. It's a lot better to have like multiple different focal lengths to tell your story and not just like a wide angle. But the fact that I'm even able to compare and help people cross shop between a ZV-1 and DJI Pocket 3 is just proves to you how amazing the Pocket 3 is. So in terms of the future, I mean, I can't imagine what DJI can do in the future with like this technology and this setup. What if they decide to do a selfie stick handheld gimbal camera that's full frame? And even if it was only like one focal length, they could make multiple different focal lengths of this full frame DJI Pocket, whatever they're going to call it. They could make a 20mm, 35mm, 50mm, 85mm version, and let's say they sold the camera for like $1,500. You could buy a 24mm, 35mm, 50mm version of this new DJI full frame, you know, DJI Pocket full frame, whatever, and it would probably still be cheaper than one FX3 without a lens. So just imagine if they did that. And that doesn't mean that they can't do some type of internal zoom lens that doesn't like mess around the balance of the gimbal, kind of like the Sony 16 to 35 f4 that zooms internally and doesn't mess around with the balance when it's on gimbal. They could do that as well and be a real thorn in Sony's grip on like this content creation space. Because right now the DJI Pocket 3 at this price point, you can't really go wrong, especially with all like the options, the ability, the tracking ability, the portability, the ease of use. And just imagine if, I will say the Sony autofocus in general is still better. It doesn't hunt, there's no breathing. I did notice the DJI Pocket 3 breathing a little bit when tracking like objects. When it notices your face, when it's like on your face, it does a good job. But I feel like when it starts like trying to mess around with like objects that is not a face, it has some pumping and hunting here and there. So that's a little bit of a downside. Also, there's no weather sealing. So if you're ever caught in the rain with the DJI Pocket 3, you need to put that away. ZV-1 has some basic weather sealing that could take on some water. Believe me, I've had some water splash on it before. It is fine. So yeah, that's some things to consider when you're trying to shop between these two cameras, because the DJI Pocket 3 is already like a no-brainer when you compare it against any other Sony vlog type camera, ZV-E10, ZV-1, whatever. And you could sit there and say photos, you know, it doesn't do photos well because it's only like 8 megapixels or something. You don't get this camera to do photos. Your phone will do a better job taking photos for you than most point and shoots in the DJI Pocket 3. So if you need to take a photo, you just take your phone out because of the computational photography inside Pixel 8 Pro, which is what I use, iPhones, Samsungs. These little cameras just can't compete with the phones because the phones are so easy and like it's already producing great images. So good on DJI for just focusing on video, which is why the sensor on the DJI Pocket 3 is a 1-inch, only 8 megapixel or 9 megapixel, whatever sensor, because it's more focused on getting the best image quality possible for video use. The next closest thing that actually competes with the DJI Pocket 3 is the Sony ZV-1 out of Sony's entire lineup. So that's just how amazing the Pocket 3 is. And I'm no DJI fanboy. I'm a Sony user. I use Sony cameras. I'm not sponsored by either of these companies. This is just my opinion based on obviously using Sony all this time, knowing a lot about Sony cameras, and obviously testing the two cameras right here, right now. So that is that, guys. I hope this video help you make a decision. In my opinion, if you have a Sony ZV-1 already, don't hesitate to grab a DJI Pocket 3 to be a companion to the Sony ZV-1. If you don't have any of these cameras yet and you're looking into one specifically just for like content creation, doing things really quickly, doing content where you only need wide angle shots, I would just go with the Pocket 3, hands down. But if you're looking for doing more advanced things such as storytelling, you need interchangeable lenses, and you want like the best autofocus, best autofocus in the game, best possible image quality in the game, just get the Sony ZV-1, spend that $2,200 plus whatever lenses you need to get. And again, the bare minimum you're gonna have to spend to get the 20mm look of a DJI Pocket 3, you're gonna have to spend at least like $2,500, and that would include the Sony ZV-1 and like a Tamron 20mm f2.8. So that is that, guys. And until next time, lighten up. Hey man, what toy is that? It's the DJI Pocket 3. Oh my god, that toy camera, it's trash. It takes so long to set up. Actually, it boots up pretty quick. Starts right up. That screen, it's small, like the thing in your pan. You can't see it. Actually, this 2-inch screen is pretty clear, but if you need to, you can monitor the footage on your phone. The small sensor image quality, it's trash. It's actually a 1-inch sensor, 4K 60, 4K 120, 10-bit with D-Log. It takes too long to put away. Actually, it turns off really quick and the gimbal locks right up. The battery, it don't last a long time like me in the bedroom. The battery on this little device is actually quite decent, but you could even extend the battery with this extension. It don't have Canon color shine, and the gimbal, it play out. IBIS much better. Most cameras have decent IBIS these days, but nothing matches an actual gimbal. Let me show you. Hey man, this the cinematic Canon vlog. The Canon color shine is the best. Bro, why does the corners look like jello? It filmed organic shape.